Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Jaya Sammohito Jiva Atma Nantri Guna Matam Alukini Tenatam Takritam Shivipattate.
Translation. He was contemplating also the souls who constitute the marginal energy of the Lord. They are in essence superior to the material energy, but still they are subjected to be distracted by this external energy. By being subjected to the influence of the three gunas, the three modes of passion, ignorance, and goodness, they forget their original spiritual nature, and they suffer by the miseries brought by this bad identification. Commentary. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the one who desires to describe the form and the pastimes of the Lord cannot do it without the Lord. But what was the use of Vyasa to see Maya, the external energy of the Lord? This is what explains this verse. The conditioned soul, who is afflicted by the material energy, cannot taste the sweetness of the glories of the Lord, which is essential to approach the Bhagavatam. Without seeing the sickness, the doctor cannot prescribe a medicine and a proper diet to restore the health of the patient. So it was necessary for Vyasadeva to see how the external energy recovers the soul, how the conditioned soul becomes identified with matter and starts to suffer. This is to make us understand the importance of taking shelter of the internal energy of the Lord. Devotional service is the function of the internal energy. By effecting this devotional service, under the shelter of a pure devotee, the conditioned soul can be freed from all the connections with the three modes of material energy and attain the eternal bliss as an associate of the Lord.
Namaste Sarasvati Devi. Ora Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Pachacharishakari.
This is a commentary which is very interesting. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains why. Vyasa wrote, described the material energy. He could have simply described the sweet pastimes of the Supreme Lord. But the one who is conditioned by the material energy cannot truly enter in contact with the pastimes of the Lord. Of course, if he comes in contact with the glories of the Lord, gradually it purifies him and it allows him to be in contact, to be introduced in the pastimes of the Lord. It doesn't mean that we should not listen to it, but we have to be conscious of the nature, of the conditioned nature of the soul. Because if we see simply, if we hear the pastimes of the Lord without any consideration of this world, then it looks similarly to the activities that people do in this world. Krishna is in love of Radharani. Radharani is in love with Krishna. Krishna, he makes jokes, he plays, he cries, he has feelings of separation. Krishna can joke with others. It's extremely difficult to understand. It's extremely difficult to understand how sometimes, for example, when Krishna, he plays with Sudam, and at Sudam's he wins. Krishna does not accept defeat. He is a very bad loser. How is it possible that God can lose? This is the principle of love. When a father is attracted to his son because he loves him, the child has more strength than him. This is the principle of love. In the same way, Sridham, when he wins over Krishna, he can fight with Krishna because this is the principle of love. For the sweet pastimes to be even more sweet, then the Lila Shakti, it delves the Supreme Lord so that he can also even cry. So when the Lord cries, it's so beautiful and it melts so much the heart that all his friends, they embrace him, they console him. It's very... And then, once Krishna receives what he had, everything goes well. And then they go play again. This is the principle. So the same romance exists also with Radharani. Sometimes Radharani, she enters in a state of sulkiness towards Krishna. She does not want to see Krishna. She doesn't even know why. Because she cannot live without Krishna. It's not possible. But the Lila Shakti of the Lord makes Radharani so that she can block completely her love towards Krishna. And this is something that destroys Krishna. If Krishna cannot see Radharani, then his heart is broken, just like a materialistic person who cannot see his wife, his children. This is the same principle. The spiritual feelings, they are the origin of material feelings. So when we awake to our nature, it's not that we are not with feelings like the impersonalist. Beyond the world, where people suffer. But a devotee, it's not that he suffers for ignorance. He suffers because he sees the potential of living beings to become devotees. And when he sees that these beings, they refuse to go back to Krishna, it is something that is extremely difficult for a devotee to live. It's very painful, we cannot imagine. Because even the suffering of a conditioned soul can feel in separation of love. It's nothing compared to a devotee, what he can feel. Because the connection he has with beings is a spiritual connection. When a Vaishnava, who is a spiritual master, sees a disciple fall down, he cries. He can cry for so long. It's inconceivable, because this is the nature of the Lord, to equip his devotee with a special sensitivity. This is why, for example, the Srila Prabhupada's disciples, they met also other qualified spiritual masters. They always felt still a love that the spiritual master had for them specifically. And even when the spiritual master, for example, it can happen that a disciple does not belong well, and then the community move him aside, it doesn't mean that in secret the Guru does not cry for him, because it's extremely difficult for a spiritual master to see his disciples leave and fall down into Maya, even if they do not fall down really, because the spiritual master can understand the destiny of the disciple. This is what hurts the most, because the conditioned soul does not understand anything. She is just subjected to sleep, to action, desire, to feel good sometimes, but it doesn't go beyond that. She doesn't understand her position.
elle comprend pas, elle a
She
pas
does not
d'attachement pour le Seigneur.
have attachment for the Supreme Lord.
Elle a jamais versé une
She
larme de
never
séparation pour le
dropped a
Seigneur.
tear in separation from the Lord.
C'est comme ça.
It's like this.
Elle connaît pas comment on peut verser une larme de
She does
séparation.
not know how we can have a tear of separation if we don't know that the divine couple.
On est,
We are,
quand on est attaché,
when we are
on
attached,
peut pleurer.
we can cry.
C'est un principe.
This is a
Si on n'est
principle.
pas attaché,
But if we're not attached,
c'est impossible de pleurer.
then it's not possible to cry.
Comprenez?
You understand?
Imagination.
It's imagination.
Attachement,
True attachment.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu,
quand il était en
when he was
séparation
in separation
de Krishna, dans
from
le
Krishna,
Radharani,
in the mood of Srimati Radharani, he was crying and crying. There were rivers of tears
parce qu'il ne pouvait pas s'en
because he could not,
à chaque fois qu'il essayait de se remettre,
as every time he was trying to go better, then his state was getting worse and worse.
c'est ça le principe.
This is the principle. Sometimes Radharani, she thinks, oh, I will forget Krishna. And then from there, it's finished. Then Krishna, the memory, remembrance of Krishna comes back, and then it increases the suffering even more. The more she tries to forget Krishna, the more she suffers.
C'est ça l'amour.
This is love.
Cette condition,
This condition in Vrindavan, in separation from the divine couple.
aucune
No
plateforme
platform
supérieure à celle-là.
is superior, higher than this, because it's the Lord Himself who expresses love. And the living beings in this world, they simply try to imitate.
Quand ils sont
That means that when they are cut, separated from the Lord,
et qu'ils sont dans les
and they are in a conditioned state, they try on their own to be God. So they have this experience, but this is not bliss, it's suffering. You understand?
Alors que quand le Seigneur il est en séparation,
But when the Lord is in separation, this is
c'est pour
bliss.
ça que
This is why
Krishna lui-même
Krishna
revient
himself
Chaitanya
comes back himself as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to taste
de
this bliss of separation, because it's the most elevated.
séparation.
Because when we are in separation, that's when we are closer to the loved one, to the beloved. The proof is that even materially speaking,
Des exemples
there are examples, so many like that, where people were married
et qui se disputaient
and they were always fighting with each other. And when they separated, they were crying because why did I act like this? This person is unique and this and that. It's such an experience after we think, why was I like this? It was the most unique person I loved, and I was always bad with that person. Even materially speaking, it's possible.
Donc,
So,
Krishna,
Krishna, by true love, He will change our heart, because what's happening is that we cannot not love.
Donc, il y a
So,
cette relation.
There's this relationship that exists with devotees, relationships of love.
Et naturellement,
And naturally, when we lose devotees, what happens? We start to cry, because we see that we acted wrong. We see that we were like this. We see it's terrible to see the condition we have. It's horrible,
C'est horrible. Parce que Maya,
because Maya, the material energy, forces us to be
force à être concupissant,
angry, to be lusty,
force à tellement de choses.
to so many
C'est
things.
vrai,
It's true.
c'est horrible.
It's horrible.
Donc,
So,
le point,
the point
c'est
is,
ces erreurs
these mistakes
avec ces
with
sentiments
these feelings of love
nous permettent de progresser.
will allow us to progress.
Parce que quand ça nous fait souffrir,
Because when it makes us suffer, then we don't do the same thing. We don't want to do the same thing to living beings. And unfortunately, what is sad is that it falls on certain persons,
après que ça tombe pas sur d'autres.
so that after it doesn't fall on others. This is what is terrible in this material world,
C'est que ça doit tomber
is
sur
that
certains,
it must fall on certain persons,
ça se reporte sur d'autres après. Donc
so that we don't get the same experience with others after, because the experience we had, we don't want to do it again. And what is sad is that the person who receives that experience, she cannot understand necessarily this reality.
Et les pièces peuvent pas de nouveau se recoller.
And then the pieces cannot be stuck together again. That's why this world is imperfect. In the transcendental world, the pieces, they always get back together. That's what's wonderful. In the material world, there's a true breaking, because we do not have the power, because we're not powerful enough to
Alors que le Seigneur suit
put the pieces together. But the Supreme Lord, nobody can leave Him. That's why it's perfect. You understand this comparison? We cannot leave the Supreme Lord. We are forced, obliged the pieces will always be stuck together in harmony because there's a love that is inconceivable, that is perfect. This is why this world, relationships we have, they are just relationships in misery. We try to have like Krishna, but we're always disappointed because we're never understood. And the more we love someone, the more we suffer, because the person will make us suffer, because that person cannot understand us. That is why people in this world suffer and suffer and suffer. It's terrible. Nobody can understand us. But in Krishna's world, there's a faculty where we can be understood, that all of our desires can be fulfilled, to be satisfied in an unlimited way and more beautiful even after that. So this is what is wonderful in separation and in union. That's why we're made for this world. That's why when we hear about that, it's evident. That's what we're looking for. That's why if we speak about pastimes of Krishna, then we can see this is the reality, and gradually we can go towards this reality because we need it. This is why Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that Vyasa. Why Vyasa? Explain the nature of the soul, the conditioned soul. Because without understanding this nature, we will look always to imitate the Lord. Without understanding how much we're always in a defeat of love. In a defeat of love. It's really a defeat of love, a failure of love. It's true. But we cannot stop because the love is made to love Krishna. But as soon as we find Krishna, what is really interesting is that I remember, for example, I had this memory when I was not a spiritualist. One day, I was in love with a girl, if I can speak like this, but I knew it will stop at some point. And when she was sleeping, I was crying. And then at the same time, I found this weird that I was crying. I was already starting to analyze the situation without being a spiritualist. I was thinking, but I am in a situation of crying, but then I was observing myself at the same way. And then I found it strange to cry for something. And then I was weird, I didn't have any solution. Why did I feel this the discomfort? But then I was forcing myself to cry. It's incredible, no? How previous lives, they take us back again without we are being conscious of it. It starts to infiltrate in our lives, without even the Lord to reappear again, and with all spiritual knowledge. And I was feeling that I was really in the false, but at the same time I did not have knowledge. It was strange, it was a strange situation. But as soon as we have knowledge, when we suffer and when we cry, it gives us immediately the solution. We realize, this is for Krishna, I should cry. I should cry for him. If I had this attachment towards Krishna, then I will be a pure devotee. I could enter in his kingdom. But as soon as this sensation comes into us, then Krishna will reciprocate, because we're at the level of understanding Krishna. And he thought, then you see you're crying, but you're not crying for me. You never cried for me like that. And Krishna will help us to develop an attachment for him and to have real tears. It's gradual. Even he will be our doctor himself. This is the beauty of the Supreme Lord, is that once we receive the mercy of a pure devotee and that we are guided by knowledge, we can never cheat ourselves again. We make the same mistakes, but it gives a solution, a spiritual solution. The same mistake will allow us to progress and escape ourselves from the material energy. It's very powerful. Extremely wonderful. We are in the philosophy of love. Krishna loves us.
On peut pas imaginer comment
We cannot imagine how much Krishna loves us. We cannot imagine the beauty of our spiritual body.
Il représente vraiment quelque chose.
That body represents something that Krishna loves, our color, the form of our eyes, of our dress.
Krishna a besoin.
It's something Krishna needs.
Ça veut dire quelque chose
That
de
means
très profond.
something very deep for him.
Peu importe,
No matter what,
soit un saka,
we are a Saka or a Saki,
ou une go-
a cowherd
pastourelle,
or a cowherd girl.
ça représente quelque chose
No
de
matter.
particulier.
It represents something particular for him. And that is very important.
C'est pour ça
This is
qu'on
why
peut percevoir la
when we can
notre
perceive our form,
forme, notre habit, notre
our dress, our
on
color,
perçoit aussi
we
l'attachement
perceive also that at the attachment Krishna has for us and the importance we have in his Leelas.
Ça peut être
This
réalisé
can be
sur cette
realized
réalisation.
only if we have this realization of a transcendental form. As soon as this transcendental form can be perceived, we realize the attachment that Krishna has for us, and we realize the attachment we have for Krishna. This is knowledge of our relationship with Krishna. And from there, how could we leave Krishna? It's not possible. How Krishna could leave us? It's impossible.
C'est une histoire d'amour
It's a story of love.
très personnelle,
Very personal.
très personnelle.
Very, very personal.
Parfois, Krishna
Sometimes Krishna, he hears his devotee cry.
Parfois, il
And
sait,
sometimes
parce qu'il sait qu'il faut qu'il l'amène plus.
he knows you have to bring him further.
Parfois,
Sometimes,
dans l'élévation spirituelle,
in the spiritual elevation, we can have a moment where
on peut s'attacher
we can
à quelqu'un,
be attached to someone, etc.,
on pleure.
and we cry.
Mais Krishna s'aide pas.
But Krishna does not
Parce qu'il
appear
sait qu'il faut aller plus loin.
because he knows we have to go deeper.
C'est le principe de l'amour.
This is the principle of love.
Krishna,
It breaks Krishna's heart to see his devotee cry.
c'est pensez jamais.
Never think that Krishna
ne pleure pas quand vous,
does not cry when you cry,
quand vous avez donné votre
when you have given your life to Krishna,
et que
and that
simplement vous vous
Simply,
pour lui
you live for him,
et que vous êtes prêt à tout faire pour lui.
and you're ready to do everything for him. Then,
Quand vous pleurez, Krishna,
when you cry, Krishna cries. Thank you.
et le dévot, il se
And the
sent
devotee,
vraiment
He feels really
étreint par les bras de Krishna,
embraced by Krishna's arms,
étreint par son cœur.
embraced by his heart.
C'est très important.
It's very important.
Ça, c'est l'amour.
This is love,
Et ça
and this cannot be broken.
ça peut pas être brisé.
It cannot be broken.
C'est ça notre but.
This is our goal, love.
Pas la religiosité.
It's not religiosity.
C'est juste
It's just
aimer
to love
et être aimé.
and to be love.
Simplement aimer. Mais
Not simply love, but to be love.
ressentir
We want to feel that we are loved.
C'est ça la beauté
This is the beauty
de ce mouvement de Sankirtan.
of this Sankirtan
Le
movement,
service de l'émotion
is that devotional service allows us truly to feel that we are loved.
toutes les austérités qu'on fait pour
Every austerity we do for Krishna,
toutes les larmes qu'on versera,
all the tears we will,
un jour nous serons
drop.
récompensés.
one day we will be rewarded.
On sentira comment
We will feel how Krishna loves
on
us.
sentira aimé
We will feel loved
comme jamais auparavant.
like never
En
before.
fait, l'âme,
Because the soul
elle peut pas vivre sans amour.
cannot live without love.
En fait, les êtres dans ce monde, quand ils se
So the living beings in this world, when they are not feeling loved, they suicide themselves. It's a principle.
quand on se sent
And when we feel not loved
aimablement, on est mal.
properly, we are unhappy.
Il y a rien de pire pour l'être
There's
humain.
nothing worse for the conditioned soul for to not be loved.
C'est pourquoi
This is why
quand on progresse
when we progress really,
va
Krishna
tout ça.
will will
C'est pour ça
take
que
everything away. That's why Krishna says, when I favor someone, everyone rejects him. Nobody loves him anymore.
Et parce que
But because
il a cette empreinte
he has
de
this
Krishna, il a cette forme Krishna.
he has this form of Krishna in his heart. Instead of suiciding himself, he surrenders to Krishna, and finally Krishna can love him. It works like this, you understand? But it's difficult and it's hard. If you give your heart to Krishna, to someone in this world, then it's finished. There's no more Krishna. You'll come back in the next life, you go to the heavenly planets. But Krishna wants 100%. This is why it's not easy. Maya is very powerful. She wants the jiva to give his heart to something else than Krishna, to a cat or a dog, a camel, a tiger, a rat, to a woman, to children. But it's very rare a person who is finished with this and who gives his heart to Krishna. It doesn't mean it doesn't have feelings, but the feelings after he has for living beings, they're not in connection with this world. You understand? A Vaishnava, see the story of Shivananda Saina, who was Shivananda Saina, he was attached to a dog and he was an associate of the Lord. You cannot say he loved the dog because of the three modes of nature and that he was in ignorance and passion. It's not true. But this attachment, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Srila Prabhupada explains, this was truly beneficial for Krishna because when a Vaishnava is attached to us, you're obliged to go back to Krishna. How can you fight against the love of a Vaishnava? Who can fight against the love of a Vaishnava? Who can love you more than a Vaishnava? Nobody in this world. Because the love he has is pure. The others, they're simply in fruitive activity. Because I have an apartment, I need a little wife to furnish my life. I was asked to get married. This is not a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava, he loves purely the people. It's not the same level of love. He loves because there's no cause. So, the fortune, our good fortune, is to be loved by a Vaishnava. If we're loved by Vaishnava, the rest of our life will be the end will be good. But if we lose this love, then all our fortune is finished. We lose everything. Everything. This is why we need to reflect nicely in life. We have to think properly. We have to reflect. We need to analyze well in which way, to whom we give our heart, because after it's finished. It's finished. But to have the heart of a Vaishnava is a special mercy. But a Vaishnava can also stop after. He can also, because he has this power to renounce, but he has so much desire to bring back people to the transcendental world. It's very powerful, the desire of a Vaishnava to bring back people to the transcendental world. A Vaishnava, he has millions, billions of times more desire to bring us back than we have to go back. Krishna always fulfills the desire of his devotees, to a certain degree. Sometimes if a disciple, he criticized the spiritual master, he did wrong things, then his mercy cannot pass after. But still, he always intervenes as a lawyer. He said, still, we need to forgive him. You can speak to Krishna. Krishna says, no, this person, I will not bring him back. That person did this and that, I cannot accept. It happens like that. The devotee says, but he cries to Krishna. He cries to Krishna's feet. He said, no, you cannot do this. Bring back this devotee, please. You see? This is love. This is love. But unfortunately, living beings in this world, they cannot understand love. They are just riveted to this dream.
C'est pourquoi il y a différentes sortes
This is why there are different levels of disciples. The disciples who understand that love, they dedicate themselves to the mission of their spiritual master.
Et ceux qui comprennent
And those who do not understand that
ils
love,
ont un maître spirituel, lui,
they have a spiritual master, but they do what they like.
vous comprenez?
You understand?
Qui va retourner à Krishna?
Who will go back to Krishna?
Vous comprenez?
You understand?
C'est pourquoi
This is why
automatiquement
automatically
l'amour
the love
vient toujours.
always wins.
L'amour est toujours
The love
glorieux.
is always glorious.
Parce que s'il n'y a pas
Because if there is
cet échange de
not this exchange of love in the heart of a disciple and a spiritual master,
il existe
as it exists an exchange of love between Krishna and his devotees, it cannot work.
ça peut pas marcher.
It cannot work.
Et à un moment, ça s'arrête.
And at some point it stops and it's too hard.
C'est pourquoi
This is why naturally
on voit
we
dans
see
une communauté
in a community
que
that
le départ des gens,
the departure of people,
ils ont aussi
they always
une importance.
also have a certain importance, because at some point we
à
realize
quel point on aimait les êtres et
how much we loved living beings, and because of such and such things they're not there today.
mais on peut pas refaire
But we
marche
cannot
parce qu'on
go
peut pas
back,
tout voir. Et surtout,
reward.
en ce moment, ils sont rancuniers.
And also people in this world, they will never forgive.
Vous comprenez? C'est terrible.
They cannot forgive. It's terrible. What can we do? We have to continue
Et on se
But-
qualifie
by qualifying ourselves.
quand on chante,
When we chant,
en fait, Radharani,
in reality, Radharani,
dans son monde,
in truth,
dans son
in her transcendental world, she has different places where she bathes in her youth and the bathing of her youth, and in the same way the chanting of the holy name is just like a shower, just like a bath. You see, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says Trinadapi Sanuchena Tarorapi Saishnuna Amanina Manadana Kirtaniya Sadahari, when we attain this level, it's just like a shower, just like a bath. We bathe in humility, we bathe in tolerance, we bathe in respect, we obtain qualities by the soft rays of the holy name. It's not that it happens other way. The sweet rays of the holy name are just like a bath that allows the devotee to become soft, to be tolerant, to offer his respect to all living beings. It will not be possible. You understand? This reality exists in the kingdom of Radharani. So we could say Radharani does not need to bathe, but still she does it. Because this reality exists also to a level, in another level, through the holy name and the evolution of the holy name. As the practitioner awakes to the nature of the holy name, the shower takes a substance of attachment. It's just like a bath where we receive attachment for Krishna. We receive feelings, we receive everything. And then finally, when we are in a spiritual body, one day we'll be able to bathe in this water of eternal youth. And then we will realize it's the same thing. Everything is a shower of love. We are in a movement of love. This is what is important. We cannot live without feelings. At the smallest level, Kanishta Bhakta, we are without feelings, we are hard. The Madhyam is just like the beginning of transformation. It means the heart starts to be soft. For one day, when we go to the higher level, Uttama, the heart melts. The heart is completely melted. So we need to be patient, to continue, and be really conscious of these things, to not fall down, so that Maya does not catch us again. For example, some devotees, they left for 20 years. They met Prabhupada. What did they know about Prabhupada to live like that? We can be in contact of something so elevated without understanding. You understand? We can be the personal servant of Srila Prabhupada for 8 years without understanding and live for so many years.
qu'il faut,
What we need
c'est
is
développer
to develop really
des qualités
qualities
et surtout un désir
and also
profond
a profound desire to be an associate of Lord, to become an associate of the Lord.
Et ça, c'est possible.
And this is possible,
Selon Prahlad Maharaj,
according to Prahlad Maharaj,
de recevoir la
to receive the dust, by receiving the dust of a pure devotee. It's not possible otherwise.
Et il y a plein de
And there's all kinds of devotees.
gens qui puissent pas être
Although they cannot be manifested,
manifestés.
they're always manifested.
C'est juste une question de
It's just a question of consciousness.
Ne pensez pas que
Do not think you are alone.
c'est simplement vous qui
It is simply yourself who want to stay alone.
ne vous trompez pas.
Do not cheat. Do not.
Vous qui voulez rester seul.
You want
qui
to stay
voulez pas
alone,
changer.
and who do not want to change.
Quand on veut changer,
When we want to change, help comes.
l'aide va venir.
The help will come.
De toute façon, vous avez
In any way, you do not have any choice
vous êtes des
in the
enfants
matter.
de nectar.
You are children of nectar.
Vous êtes faits pour nectar.
You're made for
Un
nectar.
jour,
One day,
vous aurez envie.
you will want
C'est
this.
juste une question de temps.
It's just a question of time.
Parce que vous avez entendu,
Because you
vous
heard,
savez la solution.
you know the solution.
Juste que Krishna,
It's
il va
just that
faire
Krishna
un
will
arrangement
make an
pour
arrangement
que vous soyez obligés.
so that you're obliged to surrender.
Chacun aura son
Every will have his moment, every person. Maybe in next life,
Si vous résistez fort,
if you resist very strongly,
vous avez des boucliers
if you have shields
avec des épées
with swords
contrecarrer la
to counteract the mercy of Krishna and the love and Krishna's love,
C'est possible.
it's possible.
Non, Krishna, je préfère la
No, Krishna.
position.
I prefer position.
Moi, je veux être le décidateur.
I want to be the one who decide.
Je veux être celui qui a
I want to be the one, an old devotee to be respected.
Là, on peut se battre,
Then we can fight,
mais on souffre.
but we suffer.
Je vois encore
I see
lettre. Hier, ça m'a brisé le cœur.
this letter It broke my heart. I see this letter of a devotee. She, for 40 years of service, she said, I did not develop love for God. We must need strength to say something like this. And she was saying it sincerely.
C'est pas si simple.
It's not so simple.
Il faut faire vraiment
We
attention.
must be very careful.
Une fois, Gorgovina Maharaj,
One day, Gorgovina Maharaj,
avait une
he had a
disciple
disciple
qui servait les vaches.
who liked to serve cows, and he went to see her to the heavenly planets. She was taking care of cows to the heavenly planets,
Faites attention.
and she did not want to come back. Be careful.
Attachez à n'importe quoi.
We can attach ourselves to so many things,
Et vouloir
but
développer
and to develop
un sentiment
a feeling
qui va nous égarer.
who will distract us.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.